All right, let's talk Michigan Wolverines. All eyes this offseason, of course, when it comes to Michigan, are on the quarterback position, and deservedly so. New era arriving in Ann Arbor. But lost in the hustle and bustle is another freshman that's breaking out. Looks like a great star for the Wolverines already. We'll get into that in just a second. But first, I'm Nick. That's Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, today's report involving Michigan, of course, doesn't involve the quarterback position. It gets a lot of attention, deservedly so, but Wolverines have another freshman that looks to be the next in a long line of great stars. Let's pull up this report courtesy of SI.com. Head coach Sharon Moore spoke with the media on Monday and confirmed his emphasis on bringing in bigger wide receivers into the room. Yeah, I feel like that group has really obviously grown in size, said Moore on the wide receivers. That was an emphasis for me. I wanted big receivers, and with him and Donovan McCulley and bringing in Jacob Washington, even Andrew Marsh, he's not a small guy. He's a long limb guy. I feel like we're bringing really good size in that group to help us be more explosive in the passing game, and that's what I wanted. Okay, focus on the Andrew Marsh, long limb guy. Second half of the report, again, courtesy of this is ESPN's Tom Luginbill and Craig Halbert, believe Andrew Marsh could see the field right away and bring some serious energy to the lineup. Marsh will bring some flash to Michigan's offense. He's a speedy target on the outside and is more of a glider who relies on his speed and looseness compared to his suddenness after the catch. Marsh makes plays which could bump him up the depth chart sooner rather than later. So we know Sherrone Moore has been really excited by the development of the receiver room, of course, paired with the quarterback position. That's going to be really important. And now we're seeing the analysts, the experts, people, boots on the ground saying, listen, Andrew Marsh has a chance to be special as well. I think specifically Marsh looks to be the next great receiving star for Michigan. Lord knows they need help at that position, and this young guy seems to be just the guy to give that help. Miles, I know you got a few thoughts on this, but first, Wolverines fans in the comment section below, outside of quarterback and wide receiver, what freshman position group or what freshman, I'll just leave it up to that, are you expecting to have a big impact in 2025? Obviously, we're talking quarterback, wide receiver today, but step outside of those two positions and find a different freshman that you think will be a star very early on for this Wolverines program, or at least a solid contributor. Give us that guy in the comment section below. But Miles, over to you. What are your thoughts on this latest news out of Michigan?
Yeah, Nick, I think, this is a good sign for Michigan. Like you said, everybody's focused on the quarterback position, but the wide receiver position, it needed just as much help as, being able to find a new quarterback for this team needed anyways. And I think Andrew Marsh, it's good news to see because he's a very highly touted recruit coming into this class. Probably their fourth highest rated recruit, four-star guy. And if you look at the numbers ratings, he's graded out about a 95 in this class. So it's on the edge of being, not 97, 98 is the five-star category. So Marsh, a really solid player. But going back to Sharon Moore's comments, talking about, hammering home, he really wants to bring in receivers that are bigger. He thought we need big body guys. We don't need 5'9, 5'10, 5'11 guys. We need guys that are 6 foot plus coming in here. Really, he wanted the big body receivers. And when you have a guy, Andrew Marsh, he fits that category, about 6 foot, 175 pounds, coming in to this offense with the speed, with the agility that he has. He has that huge, track and field background there. He's got huge in the 400-meter dash. Really did a great job, especially even as a freshman. He set some records. Then as a high jumper as well, showing that he can get up and use that height, win those 50-50 battles as well. I think Marsh just seems like such a dynamic player that it's going to be hard for me to pick any other freshman that's going to impact the offense as much as a guy like Andrew Marsh. And going a little bit more into that press conference with Sharon Moore of what he talked about with these guys, he talks about it. He says, these guys are making a lot of plays at practice. It's been fun to watch. It's been great for our defense, which is great. Our DBs going against bigger guys in practice. When your defense is that good, you need to challenge them, and these bigger guys coming into practice making these plays, fighting for 50-50 balls. Everyone gets better. But just Andrew Marsh really strikes me as a guy that can come in and heavily impact this Wolverines offense very early on. I think it's very understated. I think it's getting overshadowed way too much by the quarterback battle. I think the receiver battle is going to be just as important. And I think Andrew Marsh, with his added speed, agility, his ability to, win those high jump 50-50 balls, he's going to be the guy that I'm looking for to make a big impact as a freshman in this wide receiver room.
Yeah, and when you look at this receiver room, this and I just had to pull up the stats just to make sure I had this right. It's absolutely it was a disaster last season. I mean, Tyler Morris was their leading wide receiver. Obviously, Colston Loveland led the team in receiving yards, but Morris at 248 receiving yards, right? That's just ain't gonna get it done. And I know Michigan was a run heavy team last season. I get all that, but it's a problem that needs to be solved. And I think Marsh is the guy to do it. And really, it's good to see Marsh doing well. The entire wide receiver room, freshman group doing well, making plays. Because when you talk about the quarterback position, we all know it's going to be Underwood, barring something very surprising. But you need to have sort of a variable that you don't have to worry about. And that's got to be the wide receiver room. The quarterback with Underwood, it's a young guy. You're going to get the ups, you're going to get the downs, you're going to get a lot of volatility, a lot of variability in performance there. You want to have at least some level of confidence that your young wide receiver room will be a little bit more stable. It'll help out your quarterback, and it'll also allow you as a coaching staff to focus more on the quarterback to get the kid ready to go with the week to by week stuff of being a legit franchise program quarterback at the highest level of college football. And the fact that these freshman wide receivers are making plays, challenging the defense, Marsh doing good things specifically, I think is a phenomenal sign that come regular season time. And again, I understand it's early, but you get off to a good start in spring. It carries through all spring ball, summer workouts, training camp into the regular season. You'll have a group of wide receivers, young guys, but they'll be doing good things. They'll be on a good communication with the quarterback. The coaching staff will trust them. The quarterback will trust them. They'll be able to start the season with some level of stability and production in that position, which will make life a lot easier for the quarterback, right? That's why it's so important to see these wide receivers off to a good start. If the wide receiver room, if Marsh was struggling, if it was kind of chaotic right now, I'd be like, yeah, this is not a good sign because you're going to have chaos with the freshman quarterback. If you have chaos at wide receiver, that's a lot of chaos, and that's going to be a lot of bad offense, at least for the few months of the season. But with some stability and some productive play, some quality play with these young wide receivers, suddenly there's less variability, there's less volatility, and Underwood can come in very early on and just make plays and just hit the open guy and let these great wide receivers, these great gliders, these phenomenal athletes do what they do best. And I think that's what we're going to see from Michigan come fall. Look, is it going to be perfect? Absolutely not. When you got a young team, young offense, there's going to be a lot of issues. But the fact that at least the wide receiver room is looking much more stable today than it was a few weeks ago is a great sign for you Wolverines fans, a great sign for Underwood, and overall a really good sign for this program.
Yeah, and you talk about the receivers from last year. Just going through it really fast. Yeah, the names aren't important, but these are their heights: 6'2", 6'1", 5'11", 5'10". So the tallest guy being 6'2". Now you look at the guys that they've brought in. Marsh is actually the shortest guy on the roster now, as far as Andrew Marsh being 6'1", and not on the roster, but of the guys that they've brought in, 6'1" for Marsh, 6'1". Who really knows with these, the heights they put on the rosters nowadays. But and then finally, they got a guy 6'3", 6'5", and also the Indiana transfer, Donovan McCulley comes in. He's 6'5" as well. So really a lot of height brought into this wide receiver room. And that's where I just think overall, I think Marsh, far and away, really highly touted recruit, a lot of great speed, a lot of great athleticism, and he has enough height to fit Sharon Moore's archetype he wants in his receiver room. That's my guy. I think that is going to be my guy to watch in the wide receiver room this spring ball going in, to fall camp and seeing him start at the beginning of the year. I think he's going to be a huge impact. But just hearing how much height they've added into this wide receiver room, how much talent they've gone out and got, I think the wide receiver room, like you said, can't have chaos there. You got to bring in some good playmakers. You got to be able to make the plays as the wide receiver because the quarterback's going to get you the ball. You got to be able to get up there and catch it. And it seems like they've done a really great job of bringing in exactly what they want at the wide receiver position. I think this is going to be a completely different team this year when it comes to wide receiver. I think we're going to see a much bigger, starting lineup here. I think it's going to be really something great. And I think Michigan's offense is going to benefit highly from all the work that Sharon Moore and these coaches have put into the wide receiver room this year.
At one final point, it's not like they're going to forget how to run the football either, right? They're still going to be able to run the ball, and they're going to be able to run it very well. They're going to play good defense. They're just going to get that added dimension back, and it's going to force opposing defenses to actually respect it. And that's one of the things with some size and some playmaking ability at the wide receiver position can do is can force defenses just in a lose-lose situation. You bring a safety in the box to stop the run. If you don't, you give up 5 yards per carry and you get ground into oblivion. If you bring a safety into the box to try and stop the run, suddenly you got these big receivers receivers, or you got a guy like Marsh who's very, glide. I think it's a good word to describe him as a glider, phenomenal in terms of body control, things like that. Great hands that can beat you over the top with big plays down the sideline, and of course a young quarterback in Underwood who can make those kind of throws, make those kind of plays. It puts this opposing defenses in a really bad spot, and it really makes this Michigan offense much closer to the 2023 version than what we saw in 2024, and that's obviously what Sherrone Moore is trying to do. What happened in 2024, we knew that was going to be a transition year. Now things are under control, things are stabilized. Moore is building his own program, and we're heading into the 2025 season, at least on offense, with a lot of momentum and much brighter prospects.